Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore. I've been waiting to play this game for a long time. In case you're not familiar with it, it's basically like a spiritual successor to the Zelda CD-i games. And it plays and looks very much like it. And I'll get into the gameplay of it later. Right now, I'll kind of just get into the story of it. It's basically about, there's an evil wizard named Dymore who was sealed up 10 years prior to when the game actually starts, and he was freed by a duke. And once he was freed, he was trapped inside of a book, and once he was free, he broke the Jewel of Faramore and gave it to his 4 minions, and then had his duke kind of guard the way to him so he can try to take over. So then 10 years later happened, and Arzette, the princess Arzette of the kingdom of Faramore, is going to go find these jewels to, basically resell Dymore. It's like I said, it's not, I know it's kind of had difficulty explaining it because I'm not really, big on names and such like that, but I was trying to get something like that. Basically, she's going to go find the jewels like the way, Link would go try to Triforce and such like that, to basically save Faramore. And honestly, there's not really too much more to the story than that, other than the small little parts that happen in the story, which I'm not going to really explain any of that because this game is somewhat story based, so I don't want to spoil any of that kind of stuff. But basically, to give a better summary, you're Arzette and you're going around to find the jewels to, save the kingdom. That's really all I can sit there and put there for the story. But the deeper part of the story when you're sitting there watching is really good and really real, like really well written. Like the acting is meant to be kind of corny-ish because it's kind of a parody of of the CD-i games. We know how those go. It's like they really tried their hardest to kind of keep the spirit of that, but you can tell it kind of gets lost in translation a little bit because it's hard to imitate how bad the acting was in the CD-i. Just by the actors were just, I don't know if it was the actors or the voice director, something was wrong, that how everything was done in that game was just not very well. So they tried to imitate that, but it's kind of hard to. But they did a good job. They kind of like made it campy to where when you're sitting there listening to it, like you can hear what they're going for, but it doesn't distract you. But you can tell they didn't quite hit the same kind of imitation. Like, I'm not quite sure what they were originally going for, if they're really meant to do that or not. But as I was playing, I loved the story because the acting was good with a bit of cheesiness to it on purpose. So that's really all I can really give to the story. But like I said, the story is really good. But now I'm going to go on to what the gameplay is. The gameplay is everything the CD-i games did, but better. The platforming is really good. You can actually see what you're supposed to be jumping on. Arzette's movement is not as slow as Link and Zelda's were. Her swing is actually really good. When you sit there and play the game, if you're looking at the footage or whatever, it doesn't look like a CD-i game. It looks like a really high budget Super Nintendo game or an indie company trying to imitate a good Super Nintendo game back then, and they did a really good job of it. It's really, really good. Like, you sit there and you platform, you jump from tree to tree or something like that, or you jump from like one place to place on there. You search around, there's plenty of platform, and there's plenty of enemies that aren't cheap like they were in the CD-i. Like, they're a lot better balanced. I mean, you still get hit with stuff like that, and it feels like the hit detection is really off, but it's really not the case. You have to time everything you do, and you will get multi-hit if you actually run into something and it touches you with the hitbox. You will take multi-damage to it. But it's like I said, the gameplay is like really basic, but when you start playing it, it feels really good to sit there and explore and find stuff and try to find a way to fight these enemies, because you can't just really slash at them because they have projectiles. Some of them just run towards you, some of them have bigger hitboxes than they seem, and then your swing is not slow, but there's a bit of a lag behind it, enough to make it to where you can't just swing or whatever. You kind of got to time it a bit more. And as you're going around, it's still got that whole Metroidvania feel to it. So in order to progress through this area, you have to get this power up, or you have to get this item, you have to get this key, and such of that nature. And as you're going, you find bonuses, you find money, and then use that money to buy, your oil, your lamps, your oil for your lamps, your ropes, your bombs. It's the same stuff the CDI game is. You're basically getting items to progress, and it's like the same way a Metroidvania game is. Like, you may have to go and backtrack a lot. Like, plenty of times you may find yourself going back to where you already came from because, hey, I found this item here, so now I can get this out of my way. So you go back and you do that, and it leads you to something else. And it could be either you get an item from here, or, well, here, now you need this to go through to here, so now you got to go find that item and then come back and go through that type of thing. It's that type of Metroidvania. As you can tell, if I don't know if you look at the footage or whatever, but the cutscenes are still that weird, kind of like pencil drawn, kind of, I really don't know how to put it, the stock footage kind of feel to it, but it feels like so good. Like, they did really good at imitating how the original games were. And then stuff with, like, say, with the gameplay, so now you have to go look for stuff, but you also have NPCs you talk to, and they send you on quests to go find this or go do that. And same thing you wouldn't like in a Zelda game. And it's like I said, it's really fun. This feels like a Zelda game, but it's not a 2D Zelda game, but it's not quite one. The levels aren't set like they are in the old games, where you don't have this gigantic map where you have to go move the mouse cursor to here and there and just happen to sit there and see the name of this mountain or whatever. No, every time you go through a stage, they give you like 3 or 4 stages you have to go through, and it tells you what type of items you have to find there, be it the candles or the bonus levels and stuff like that. So there's something to kind of keep you updated to what you need to be, and there's like probably about 4 to 5 things you need to find. And you're gonna find yourself going from stage 1 to stage 2, back to stage 1, over to stage 3, stage 1, now you're going over to 4, having to go back to 2, and such like that. And then you got the Faramore Town Hub, which this is where you buy stuff. This is where you get your equipment upgraded. There's more NPCs you gotta talk to, and more keys you gotta find. Like, there's always stuff you're looking for and doing. So it's kind of like it's a platformer. There's plenty of action to fight things with, but there's like puzzles everywhere you gotta find. And they're not like puzzles. They're like, you need to go find this item, but you also need to go find out where it goes, or your progress is getting slowed down by this or whatever. So you got to find out what stops that or what moves that. It's a lot of fun. It's really difficult for me to explain, because kind of one of those things you got to sit there and play to really kind of enjoy. But the gameplay is just smooth. You're doing the platform, you got plenty of enemies to kill, you got a lot of puzzles. All the stages are big, and it's not like if you play the CDI, they're all horizontally, like it may be long, whatever. It's not a lot of vertical scrolling. This game does both. The stages from left to right can be really long. The stage also go down into a deeper area. It could also having to go up trees or something like that. Like, there's plenty to sit there and have to look around and do, with plenty of stuff to find. The characters really well written. Like, I don't know if I talked enough about the characters, but Arzette is an awesome protagonist. Like, she's okay. Everybody else, I'm not gonna say they're incompetent. All the other characters feel like they're goofy parodies of something from the Zelda CD-i games, while Arzette doesn't quite feel that way. She feels like she's a somewhat normal, competent person surrounded by people that's a lot less than that, but she still wants to do what's right. And her character is good because, like, when she's annoyed, you can tell. Like, when she talks to people, she has a personality and kind of a way she feels about people, and it's written all on her face of how she feels about it. So it's not like, you don't have to really guess. You can tell, like, well, if she's annoyed, she's kind of rolling her eyes, or she's in there to say something kind of snarky or whatever. But there's still times where she's stuck between somebody else saying something goofy, and she's kind of like, they're getting too uncomfortably close. So you see her kind of back up a little bit, or kind of have a weird face to her. Like, she reacts to everything, and she's a well-written character, while everybody else around her feels like, goofy NPCs that help move the story along, but in a funny fashion. But it doesn't get like annoying or nothing like that. It's just funny seeing her interact. The downside to the game, like, really all the good sides is really good graphics, really fun platforming, really good Metroidvania. The only real big downside to the game is the bosses that you fight are really easy. Like, I don't understand what they were thinking when it came to the bosses that you fight, because they are very, very simple. Like, you will almost instantly, when you see the boss, know what the weakness is and what you gotta do, and you will likely just beat them on the first try. Or if you don't, like, the minute you go back to it, you just automatically win because you know exactly what to do. I don't know what they were thinking with the bosses. They were not done very well, and I don't know. Maybe that's just the whole homage to the CDI games. I never played them, so I don't know. Maybe those bosses are simple like that too, and they just kept up with that. But let's see. I can't really think of too much other. Like I said, this is one of those games that you have to really play to enjoy, because the animations are really good. The story, the characters are funny. There's a lot to explore, a lot to find, a lot of puzzles, a lot of stages. Like, this is a longer game than I thought it was. I think it took me about 12 hours to 100% the game, which that doesn't seem like long, but for a platforming game that's like that, that's got like a lot of time onto it. But I mean, it's like it's really hard to sit there and talk about the game without taking away the magic of it. It's kind of one of those, if you like the CDI, the YouTube poops, or even the CDI game, definitely play this, because there's so much homage to it. Like, I wish I would be able to see somebody who's played this game and doesn't know anything about any of those things and see what they enjoy about it, because I kind of feel like you almost have to know something about the CDI games to get that extra enjoyment out of it. In other words, it's a really good platformer. But maybe that's also another thing. It's a really good platformer, so people can enjoy it for that. But then when you get to the story bits, it might kind of bug them with, like, why do these characters look like this, and why is the acting kind of the way it is, because they won't understand the homage to it because it's not there. So it's, maybe the game does have the issue of, maybe it's, you have to be part of its base audience to get the full enjoyment out of the game. In other words, you're not gonna like really get it and enjoy it for the 100% it's supposed to be enjoyed for. I'm not even talking about completion, I'm talking about just the in general kind of thing. Another thing about the game that you can probably hear right now in the background is the music. The music is awesome. Like, there is not a single bad track in this game. Like, the music is amazing. Really good chip tune kind of sounds like it's like a chip tune, but you can hear the instruments. Like, it's really odd. It feels like the music you would have heard back in the Super Nintendo days. Like, all the times you would talk about how good Super Mario World's music is, or Zelda, or Donkey Kong, or Illusion of Gaia, Final Fantasy, stuff like that. This goes right in there with all those. They're really, really good songs that you're never gonna get tired of hearing, which is good, because like I said, you're gonna be going through the same stages over and over and over again. If worse, so if you're doing 100%, you're definitely gonna be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Even if you're playing the game all the way through, you're still gonna go through stages and repeat, because you have to do stuff like going through the game. There's these beacons you have to light up. A lot of the beacons are behind stuff that you need this item for, or that item for, or you need this kind of magic or that magic for. So you're going to be going back and forth. You may need a candle, something you're going to need, that you can't just go through a stage and be like, okay, well, this is the fourth stage, I just went from one end to the other, now I'm done with it. No, some of the stuff is hidden, and you need this item, that item. It's a Metroidvania. It's like, if you ever play one of those, you know what you're getting into. There's a lot of finding this thing. Oh, I can now I can slide or something like that. Well, now you can slide under something, and that now you got to go back to all the places you're like, man, I couldn't fit walking under here, so now that I can slide, I can get through here. That's just how it is. But like I said, I 100% the game and loved playing every single second of it, and it was fun 100% in the game completely. Had a few times where I'm kind of like, man, I'm stupid for missing this, or how didn't I find it? Because there are a lot of stuff that are hidden. Like, there's these coins that have her face on it, and they're called hidden coins, and they're called that for a reason. They are really, really hidden, like, in places, and you can easily just walk past that thing like 500 times until you accidentally just walk into the wall, like, oh, well, this spot's here, or this is over here. There's a lot of that. But yeah, if you love Metroidvanias, or if you love the CDI games, definitely play this game. You won't be disappointed of it. It's basically, this feels like what they were trying to do with, Faces of Evil and Wand of Gamelon, but I guess couldn't because of the CDI itself, or not enough development time, or no help from Nintendo, or whatever slowed that down. This feels like what it should have been. And had they been like this, maybe we'd have been talking about the CDI games in a different kind of way. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But yeah, if you are curious about the CDI games, play this. If you're a fan of the CDI games, you'll love this. even if you like the CDI cutscenes or whatever, if you can sit there and get through the stages, there's plenty of cutscenes for you to see and have fun enjoying because of the story. But like I said, I can't see anybody just not really enjoying the game unless you just do not have that history of the CDI games, because like that's what it seems like. This game is a spiritual successor, and it was made for people who know who knows the jokes and all the stuff around it. I don't know how anybody could enjoy the game without that prior knowledge, other than they may like the art style and the platforming to it. And I mean the art style, like the game's graphics, whatever. They may like that and want to play the platforming part, and I guess skip the cutscenes. But I don't know. I almost feel like you have to be a fan of this art style and the in jokes and stuff like that to really completely enjoy the game. So that's really kind of up to you. But yeah, I can't really spoil anything. But other than that, it's a really good game. The music is awesome. Definitely play it if you get a chance to play it. I did a prior video on Balatro, which if you're not familiar with that, is a roguelike poker game. That's basically the best way I could put it. They have my Musing About series where I usually do my reviews. That's the same thing this one is. All my reviews are like this. I try not to spoil anything. I explain the game itself, a little bit of my experiences, as general as I can. And then you can go over to my gaming motifs videos, which are my more in-depth. The only video I currently have there right now would be the inscription, different acts and chapters. I also have a review on the Musing About for inscription, so you can watch that first. And then if you're curious or you have played inscription, you can watch my gaming motifs, which explains my deeper thoughts. And that's spoilers. I would explain talk about every little thing about that game and spoil every little thing. So it's for people who have played it, or if you don't plan on playing but you're curious what I think, or you're curious about the game just in general, and you just don't care about knowing the story and knowing pieces like that, just want to watch it, there it goes right there. But other than that, like, subscribe, do all that. Hopefully you stick around. I'll have other reviews later on. I have more game motif videos later on. Do them as much as I can, and it's gonna be different kind of games. It's gonna be main games, indie games, just whatever I play, I'm gonna be reviewing it. But I appreciate you sticking around, and hopefully you enjoyed this game if you do end up playing it. Like, I don't think a lot of people are talking about Arzette very much. I really feel like it needs to kind of get out there, and more people need to play it because it's really, really good. And I think a lot of people will enjoy it. But I appreciate you listening.